Rolling Stone modified their list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. And it's got a lot of people coming forward with their constructive criticisms.
Bad Bunny times 100 pre. What the fuck is that?
Many classic albums fell off the list. Well, they had to. But one of them made it onto the list. A truly great album that has been praised for a long time by more and more people. Right, this is not all bad. And I think it's actually good that the Beatles has been lowered. I believe that band has always been overhyped. And it all stems from how they started back in the 60s. It was the conditions and maybe some manipulation. And now people today just assume that they're great because, well, look at history. When I first heard news of this greatest albums list, the first thing I think of when I think of greatest albums is the album I've always imagined was the greatest since the early 80s, and most everyone around me agreed. But that was before the internet, where we all just had our small circles. Once I got the internet and looked at what other people thought about stuff, I found out I was not alone. A lot of people say the same thing that I have always believed since way back. So when getting into this news of an update, I was thinking, I wonder if this album has ever been on the list or has just made it now. Maybe that's something they finally did right, because Rolling Stone has ignored this band for so long. So I did a little search. And new news. Rush's Moving Pictures makes Rolling Stone magazine's revamped list of the 500 greatest albums of all time. Well, it is about time. Let's see what this Rush site says. Back in 2003, Rolling Stone magazine first published their list. And not surprisingly, not surprising to us Rush fans, because we are used to this. No Rush albums were included. Let's stop here, and I can tell you why. It all comes back down to popularity. Notice back a minute ago, I didn't say this album was great. I said, even though it could turn off a lot of people and make me look really biased and like a music snob, which I was back then, but I have loosened up, being more open-minded to other music. But I still say, you just can't top this album. Look this up, people. Look up what people say about this album. This is the album that starts with Tom Sawyer, okay? And the album doesn't let up after that song. I'm kind of bored with Tom Sawyer, but the next song is one of my favorites, and then it just keeps on going. Got the song Witch Hunt in there, which is often forgotten about. That's a spectacular song on its own, but it gets overshadowed by the huge songs on this album.
Tom Sawyer and Limelight, they're always a lot of fun for me to play. By tour, we probably stopped playing around 78, I would guess.
Oh, by the way, with me getting into music reviews and drum videos, you are going to be hearing this album. This goes back to the criteria of enjoyment. A lot of Rush songs are still being listened to today. They're timeless. They keep us interested in listening to music. While most people stop listening to music when they get older, that's probably because of the music they were listening to. Popular music. It just comes and goes. You get bored of it. Ask yourself, how many people do you think are still listening to Elvis, Alanis Morissette, Joni Mitchell, and a lot of other things? Sure, there's some people out there, but I guarantee there's no YouTube Joni Mitchell song reaction trend going on. Okay, I'll keep reading here. The magazine made a slight update to their list in 2012. They were coming around to Rush. They added 38 albums, but none were Rush, which is just ridiculous. Look this up. This is one of the big reasons why Rolling Stone lacks credibility among people, because of how they have treated Rush. So earlier today, the magazine posted a completely revamped list, and this time, one Rush album did finally make the cut, Moving Pictures. Now check this out. It was included at number... I got some watermelon stuck in my throat. 379. Now right there is a slap in the face, people. It is good that it's on the list, so it can be said it's on the list, and people will see it on the list too. But it's like they're acknowledging the album exists and ranking it low. But once again, remember all the criteria that I listed in part 1 of this video, such as popularity and also societal impact. Got to consider that. Okay. Yeah, I was going to mention another album that should be on the list is 2112. That is just a legendary album, and it's amazing. Let's see, on 70s albums, 2112 and Hemispheres, Rush mastered the high prog epic, and a lot of people just don't like that kind of stuff. Moving Pictures came along. It was the first record where they proved they could say as much in 4 minutes, 5 minutes. They don't make 4-minute songs, as they previously had in 20 minutes. Songs like Tom Sawyer, Limelight, and The Police, like Vital Signs, showcase the trio's superhuman chops.
There's 3 guys that sounds like 20 guys on stage. Can do better than orchestras.
And really enjoying themselves.
Yeah, jealousy of this band may have held the band back. I always felt that. Rush just blows away so much else. So it's not surprising the music industry would want to ignore them. Comments. Yes. Let's see what Rush fans have to say. Yeah, I was going to say, I should say this before I read the... I like to make this point, that how many people are still listening to Stevie Wonder or even Alanis Morissette? I was listening to that album yesterday, and in the comments, people saying, well, this brings back my childhood. Well, that's probably because you haven't heard the song since then. What happened? See, people who listen to Rush, we never stopped listening to Rush. These songs just last. Not every song, but many Rush songs still elicit the same excitement and freshness as they ever did, which is why I'm so pumped about Rush after all these decades, and I'm looking forward to making a lot of videos about them.
Music in my life is very, very important. It's my heart, my soul. And these guys, they means happiness for me.
The songs, they're wonderful, and you guys are the best. Thank you for changing my life so much.
Now on to this comment. I think the proof is in the pudding. Look at all the reaction videos and the number of them doing Rush. Right, like I said a week ago, there is this new trend going on YouTube that I've discovered. I'm jumping in on it. Rush reaction videos, that's perfect for me. So many young ones picking up and listening to Rush. Frankly, 379 is a slap in the face. It's hard not to put this in the top 50. Not hard for Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone has no musical credibility whatsoever. There's a laundry list of artists whose music was dismissed by their cook-snarting attention critics. Their criticism of Rush's music wasn't based on musical content, based on displaying their hipster doofus credentials. There are certain things that are still being ignored, like the smooth jazz genre looks completely ignored. I guess they just don't get into it and don't realize that it's not all elevator music. And all that rap that they got on their list is hardly music. Rush fought a 4-decade war from the stage and studio against their critics and won. Right. Rush came out on top. It took decades, but Rush is one of the few bands that have just gotten more popular. So much that mainstream culture can't ignore them anymore. We have won. It took half our lifetimes. We told you Rush is the best. While editing this, I just thought of the perfect Rush song to stick in.
You know we told you before, but you didn't hear us there.
Rush outlasted the talentless bands that Rolling Stone championed as rock and roll saviors. We have assumed control. Yeah, what you said. Other albums, Permanent Waves, and I should add to the list, I think Hold Your Fire is just great. Every song is just great. See, most albums have weak songs where the album just drops off after the hits, you know? But Rush's albums are often not like that. 2 other albums that I just think are real great is Fly By Night. I still listen to this thing from 76, and I'm amazed. The other album is Presto, and it really is magical. I finally found a comment in a non-Rush form that mentions Rush in a Rolling Stone article about the list. Most of the comments are negative. Here's a comment that someone calls racist. Probably racist. Right, some people would think that about me, but they would be wrong. In general, rap is not about great music. It's mostly focused on the lyrics, and that's fine. I think rap should have its own separate list. Here, this list is crap, like every other list Rolling Stone ever produced. Sells out. If you think we're forgetting all the crap reviews for Rush and Zeppelin, We have not. Never bought this rag, never will. Neither have I. Wow, look at that awful response to that comment. That guy's exactly right. It's getting lame to be pushing narratives based on narrow segments with broad appeal that fizzles out quickly. Yes, a lot of really popular songs, they just come and they go, which means they were just catchy, but then they got boring. And it makes me realize, in the future, this list will be updated again. And a lot of the stuff that's considered great right now, that stuff will be forgotten. You know, think about it, 20 years from now, who's going to think Kanye West belongs on this list? And a bunch of other stuff will probably be gone. But you know what? Rush will not be. Rush is only going to get bigger with time. I want to add something right here. I wasn't feeling right about continuing to mention Kanye West in a bad light, knowing that I have never actually heard his music. So I finally just went and did it. I wasn't expecting it to be bad, and it wasn't. But I'm just saying, rap music just isn't about quality of the music, and probably shouldn't be on this list. Anyway, I heard about 3 songs from Kanye, and it was better than I was expecting. I have noticed that rap music is evolving, and they're also adding more music in. It's more musical, and this was that. There's lots of music in there. I even heard some brass instruments. I liked that. A lot of piano, and it's pretty good. It's very interesting. I can see why people get into it. But I don't see why it is such a big deal that the industry is just raving about him. To continue reading, fads in music are common, but Rush just gets better and better the more you listen, which people don't. And if you never listen to Hemispheres in full or 2112, if you've never done that, your opinion is zilch. Rolling Stone has been Rush's biggest critics. They slammed everything from Getty's voice to the too complicated lyrics. That is a riot. I was checking out Alanis Morissette's lyrics. That's complicated, but she's praised for that. People calling her a lyrical genius. Maybe so, but so is Rush. Rush is retired, and their fans are still growing. Right, we're only getting bigger, people.
Consistently in the polls, year on year for the last 10 years, it's been Rush, Rush, and more Rush.